It's so nice to see everyone again virtually. You're on Music and Chat with Shirley Ong, and it's a good evening from me to you in Nashville, Tennessee. Please say hi in the live chat and let us know where you're tuning in from, and don't be backward and coming forward. And remember to put any questions you may have in the same old live chat so that I may attend to them as the stream moves along. Hi, Gary from Frederick, Maryland, my good friend. Gary, I don't know who Garth Wayne is, or Garth and Wayne, are they two separate people? And I see the rest of you, I call you virtual bodies. I can see the number here. It says several other people are bopping along to this live stream, but you just haven't made your presence known. You need to tell us your name and where you're tuning in from so we know who we're partying with. Speaking of partying, I don't know about you guys, but we've been snowed under in Nashville, Tennessee. I guess you wouldn't call that a party, but the neighborhood kids have loved it. They've made snowmen, they've made snowballs. Their snowmen are kind of miniature sized, like maybe yay tall. It's so funny, I was watching one of the moms helping their kids build the snowman, and she was trying to create the base, but she kept on rolling the snowball, but the snowball wasn't accumulating snow or gathering snow. It just kept on just rolling around. I guess it's like a rolling snowball catches no snow. So anyway, the rest of you, please say hi in the live chat. Yes. Oh, okay, Gary. I see that Gary said Wayne's World. Cool. All right, I'm gonna play for you something. A piece of music. That's something. But before I do, I want to say also hi to Mike Flavin. All of you guys know how I pronounce your names by now, and I chose to pronounce them the way I originally thought they should be pronounced. So I know Mike Flavin has since told me it should be Flavin, but I'm sticking to Flavin because that's going to be my style. Okay, I'm going to play Black Card Circle, which is a piece from my third album, Xing Paths, and it is a synthesizer and tin whistle piece. No theremin today, although you've probably noticed I've got my ether wave back. It's not quite performing like it used to. It's got a new part, a new capacitor, but somehow I think it just needs a little bit more time to settle. And for an instrument that you play without touching, it does require an alteration in that feedback loop from where I feel it's different and the theremin then responding to the way I'm feeling and therefore modifying the way I gesture or gesticulate. All right, here we go. Black Card Circle. So that was Black Heart Circle. This snow has affected everything around me. I don't know about you guys, wherever you're located, but I don't know how being snowed in has been for you. Or those of you who have not been snowed in but have had sunny skies instead, how has or have your equipment been behaving? Mine not so good at all. But such is technology, I suppose. Anyway, Daren Dochterman is back with stories of work as production illustrator. In Daren's previous visit, we looked at his work as concept artist for Star Trek Picard, Passengers the movie, Master and Commander the movie, and Star Trek the motion picture director's cut. Without further ado, let's bring Daren in, shall we? Let's do that. Daren, I'm calling you. Hey, Daren.
Hi there. How are you doing? Good to see you again.
I'm good. And you?
I'm just good.
Wonderful. So, we've got a few virtual bodies out there bopping about on the live stream. The regulars, the ones who have bold dispositions, they're not afraid to sign in. Those who are a little timid, with timid tendencies, they're a little reticent. I can see that. I can see the count on my statistics, but they're too afraid to say hi. Come on now, everybody. So, Daren, thanks for joining us again.
Of course.
And let's jump right into the stuff, shall we? So,
all right.
Okay, so labels. I had an issue with labels recently, but not about you. It was of some other thing. But since we're on labels, labels are a strange thing, I think, and they can be either reassuring, because it's familiar to you, or conflicting. It could mean different things to different people. So my question is, production illustrator and concept artist, is this a case of potato, tomato?
Basically, the two terms have been used for the same job for many years now. The term concept artist began in the instances where the person they were hiring on a movie or television show was not a union member. And so the term concept artist is not a union title. And legally, according to the agreements that the production companies have with the union, they cannot call this person an illustrator or a production illustrator or anything like that. So they came up with the term concept artist. But in recent years, the term concept artist sounds so much cooler to some people than production illustrator, then they began requesting that title, even if they were in the union. So it became sort of, everyone tossed their hands up and said, okay, well, this doesn't really mean anything, but you still can't hire an illustrator if he's not in the union and call him an illustrator. So.
I suppose, it's an interesting point. It's the labeling is such a curious thing to consider, isn't it? I've had this beef with being in the music industry, I guess being called a musician when I could be, when I am really a whole slew of other things as well.
Sure.
But really, at the end of the day, I am a musician. But I'm a musician who does many different things.
Exactly. In the long run, if they pay you and the check clears, they can call you whatever they want.
True. That is true. Yes, you're very right. So I'm curious to our viewers out there, any MCU fans, Marvel Cinematic Universe fans? I know there are a few of you because I know you guys well. So while you take your time to answer it, I'm going to ask Daren the next question because it's about his work. And it's about your work on Iron Man 2. Could you tell us something about this project? Anything?
Yeah, Iron Man 2 was a fun project. It was basically the first of the, I hate to say, the expanded universe movies.
Okay.
They hinted at it in the teaser at the end of Iron Man 1 with Nick Fury showing up. But this really started the ball rolling of their in-universe movies. And they introduced Black Widow in it, and they had all sorts of things going on with the backstory with Howard Stark and a whole, big expanded world that these characters lived in. And I got to work on it, and I worked for the great production designer, Michael Riva, who was the production designer on the first one. He has since, unfortunately, passed away. But it was a fun experience working with him and the rest of the crew on it. And my main focus on that was to help design the big sort of World's Fair, what was it? Stark, not Rourke.
The Stark Expo?
The Stark Expo. And it took place in the same spot that the 1964 New York World's Fair did, and they had some of the same structures. And it was a favorite of Jon Favreau because he lived right across the river from that, and he could see it from his house, apparently.
Oh, really?
And, yeah. And I think it was so much a factor in his growing up. Yeah. He called his production company Fairview because he had a view of the fair. So
what do you know?
So it was all integrated into the into Iron Man 2, and it was a sort of a fun thing to see how a World's Fair would be modernized. And to give all sorts of interesting pavilions and sponsored areas that would happen, and people would fight in and explode.
Well, my style. I do have a picture and a video clip as well. Here's the video clip to begin with of the expo scene in Iron Man 2. No audio.
Right. Now I can't see it yet. I'm looking at the YouTube feed myself. So yeah, there it is.
And I also have a picture of the 1964 New York World's Fair that you're talking about.
Right.
This, so you can see, as far as I understand, you were saying that the expo was modeled after the World's Fair, and this one in 64, the motto of this one was peace through understanding, symbolized by this 12-story high stainless steel model of the Earth called the Unisphere.
Right.
Which also appears in the expo, doesn't it?
That's correct. It's in the Stark Expo as well, because it is still there. It is still in New York, and I think it's not located in Brooklyn. It's located somewhere else. I'm not sure because I never got to visit it, unfortunately. Yeah. But yeah, the Unisphere took up the central hub of the fair in '64, and so it was also the same layout in Iron Man 2.
Cool. I need to look for it the next time I'm in New York. I guess it'll be on the Queen side, won't it?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Okay. But it's it was an amazing expo, and a lot of the designers of it in those times were very forward thinking, and they did a lot of fascinating building designs that were later basically ripped off for futuristic buildings in Star Trek, for example. Wow. It was a very borrowed source for all sorts of things.
I see. Wow, the things you learn. This is really exciting for me because my father was an architect, and some of my viewers know that, and he was very much into the modern, the futurist, what the future might bring. And I remember as a little kid, he had this book called Beyond 2000 or Beyond Tomorrow or something like that.
Right.
And the pictures of battery-operated vehicles, something like an electric car.
Right.
Amongst other things, including living underwater, so you would have a little sphere-like a structure made from some kind of transparent material that was underwater, supposedly. And I never, as a child, considered asking, what about water pressure? What kind of material would that have to be to withstand the pressure of the water and all that?
Right.
But it looked quite fantastical and very believable, and I had hope for the future as a kid, kind of thing.
Well, we all did, and we're still waiting for our flying cars. They're not here yet, but who knows? Who knows what's in store in the next few years?
Who knows? I'm excited. Speaking of excitement, so I found these two bits of concept art. One of Iron Man, I guess, at the battle, and the other of War Machine. I think that looks like the War Machine. And these two have been attributed to you, Ryan Meinerding. Meinerding.
Yes.
And I thought my name was awkward to pronounce. And Phil Saunders, that one was easy.
Yeah. Now, Phil Saunders and Ryan came up with the design for Iron Man in the first movie. Phil didn't work on the second movie. He went off on he was off on some other project at that point.
I see.
But Ryan did all the heavy lifting for the Iron Man designs on that movie. He's a brilliant artist and an amazing painter, and he's still I think the head of look development at Marvel, even after all these years.
I see. So, what was your participation in the concept art for Iron Man 2 then, for these characters?
I didn't have any participation in that, except I think I did it. This is if my name is on those, it's mistaken.
Oh.
But I did some work on I think a little bit on the suitcase that Iron Man uses that has his suit in it.
Yeah.
The literal suitcase.
Oh, wow.
A little bit of that, and maybe a couple other drawings of something. It's but mostly I dealt with buildings in the Stark Expo.
Got it.
That was the main thing, and I did some additions to Tony Stark's house that weren't in the first movie. They added a kitchen and a patio area, and I think a couple other sections that needed to be integrated into the style of the exterior house.
I see.
So I did those alterations too.
Was the house a CG house then?
It was all CG.
Really? I've been wanting to know that. It looks great.
The exterior is complete CG. It's incidentally the same the same, I guess it's a cliff that you see in the end of Planet of the Apes with the Statue of Liberty next to it. That's where Tony Stark's house is.
Wow.
Yeah.
How cool. So how about all his gadgets and equipment, in his workroom, in his studio, so to speak? Are they all CG?
No, most of those are built. I mean, depending on what they're doing.
Right.
The prop master on the show, Russell Bobbitt, I've known for 32 years.
Yeah.
And he is brilliant, and he comes up with some amazing things. And I've had the pleasure of working directly for him on some projects.
Right.
But it's they build as much as they can, especially when they're interacting with actors, because interacting CG with actors gets to be difficult. Though in Iron Man 2, this was the first time where most of the times Tony is in the suit is all CG.
Yeah.
Most of the times, which is truly amazing, because I defy anyone to be able to tell when it's real and when it isn't, because ILM does some amazing work.
Yeah. Well, it's so believable. You know, I'm pretty skeptical at the best of times, but
Sure.
but I never stopped to wonder if it was CG or real. It just all looked so seamless.
Yeah, it's gotten to the point where you just can't tell what's real and what isn't, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah. Wow. I need to watch them again, I think. So, hey guys, viewers out there, if you have any questions, you need to pop them in the live chat so I can see them and hand them over to Daren, okay? Don't forget that. I know you guys want your flying cars. I see a few comments there. Mike Flavin says, I'd like a flying car or at least a jetpack. Yeah, you could try. Gary says, I think George Jetson's car. It turns into a suitcase so you can carry it.
Yep.
Yes. I think my mom has a saying for that. And the translation for her saying is "dream on." So let's move on to the next project that Daren worked on, and that's Batman and Superman: Dawn of Justice. From our chat a few days ago, you told me that you worked on his gadgets.
Yeah, all of Batman's handheld gadgets were given to me to do a spin on and try and come up with some versions of these things he's used before in movies, but versions for the new Ben Affleck Batman. And that was a lot of fun because I love Batman, and I had since I was 6 years old, so it was a lot of fun.
I think Batman was the first movie I watched on a date with somebody.
Yeah, the one from '89.
I believe it was the one from '89.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like a fun date.
Yeah, it was a fun date. It was a good choice of movie. So I've got the poster of Batman and Superman up. And I also found a picture of your concept art on 3 of the gadgets, at least. The Kryptonite-laced grenades, are they? The batarang.
Yep.
With the multiple cutting edges, and the grappling gun with, I read somewhere that it has a hammer-like handle. I'm trying to find this hammer-like handle. I'm not quite sure what.
I don't know where that means. I think someone kind of made that up, I think.
Yeah. I thought you might know. I was looking, staring, scrutinizing. I didn't see any hammer or any hammer-like handle.
Yeah, that's. I'm looking at the images right now. Yeah, that's my stuff. The grappler was fun because Batman has had versions of this device before, and they've all ranged from really mechanical and correct looking to really cartoony. They've run the gamut in the last what were there 5 Batman movies before this one, or 6. But I wanted to sort of do a combination of both of those things. I wanted it to be, sort of cool looking that you would probably see in a comic book, but I also wanted it to look like it actually worked. And I think that was kind of successful because the director liked that a lot. And he also liked another version that I did, which had sort of one handle and sort of a blocky section on it. That worked in a completely different way. So they built both of those for some reason. I think the second one was so that he could swing and hit someone in the head with it.
Wow.
But it's a lot of fun. And the most fun was going into Toys R Us one day and seeing a toy of it.
Oh, wow.
There. And that was a lot of fun. but I also really love how the batarangs turned out. It's because it's an iconic piece of gadgetry, and the fun thing was that they used the batarangs in not only Justice League afterwards, but also Shazam. In Shazam, it was sort of a special prop that one of the kids had gotten. And they had the same one from there. So it was just fun to see it reappear in that universe.
Wow. You know, I'm guilty of not having watched Shazam, but I'm sure I can find it somewhere.
Shazam is a lot of fun. I mean, I'm not, to be fully honest, I'm not really a fan of most of the DC movies these days.
Okay.
But I really enjoyed Shazam, and I really enjoyed Wonder Woman. And I just wish the other ones were as fun as those two movies are.
Yeah. Well, I do have pictures of the actual props built off your concept art. The batarang is being displayed now. The grappling gun, someone's holding it. I believe that's it. And the grenade is now, someone's pointing it. I believe that's the grenade. I hope. Did you apply your own uses to these particular pieces of weapons? You know, as in you came up with the features and functionalities, so to speak.
Sometimes. The thing is that sometimes they are very specific in the script with what they need and what it needs to do.
Okay.
But other times it's just, he needs, kind of a thing that will spray kryptonite gas.
Yeah.
And that's the only function that it needs to have. And so it's my job to come up with something that, immediately can read to the audience what it does.
Wow. I'm not familiar with kryptonite or the properties of kryptonite, except for what it does to Superman.
Yeah, well, there are no properties of kryptonite, just what the writers say it can do.
I was going to ask. Is it what kind?
It's totally up to them. We have to assume that Batman is extremely smart, and he can take the properties of kryptonite and convert them into a gas or a spray or whatever. But he's really good at this stuff, and he can build lots of toys to help defeat Superman should he need to.
That's true. So Mike Flavin asks a similar question to what I did. He said, these weapon designs, are they based on real life? Do you research weaponry for ideas?
Sometimes. It's mostly what we're researching are the finish and textures of real objects. Sometimes the detail level can feature some elements from existing things. But most of the time, the specifics on our props are, way different from those of real weapons or objects. So we have to try and sort of make an analogy between those and real life items.
You've got a very rich and vivid imagination, and I think you need that to do a job like yours. And I think to be able to tie vivid imagination with potential, because we're talking about real world use, unless we're not talking about real world use, but functionality must be an aspect of the final result, I suppose.
Absolutely. It has to look like it works. Yeah. Yeah. And when the actors use them, it needs to be convincing. So
there you go. Someone here, Gary says, and I thought of that, those bat-shaped weapons, the batarang, he says they remind him of Chinese stars. Yeah, those.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was one of the considerations because, usually the batarangs were just shaped like bats and they just needed to be heavy so you can throw and attach a rope to them. But these were also sort of throwing weapons. And that's why we gave them the sharp edges, and that's why all the pointy things are very, very pointy, and they will stick in things and sometimes stick in people.
So I'm showing the batarangs again, the prop versions. For those who are curious.
Yeah.
Alrighty, and we have someone who goes by the name Monica Jock RFC1. Don't know your name, tell us your name. He says, or she, I once told Sean Connery that I had been crushed by a pile of books. He said, you only have yourself to blame. Har, har, har.
That's hilarious.
Sigh. Poor Sean Connery. He's one of my favorite. Oh, what they say in the South, bless his heart. He was one of my favorite.
Mine too.
Actors.
Luckily, he wasn't alive to hear that joke.
Yes, I know. But I think SNL has done so. Has tried a lot of Sean Connery on the
on Celebrity Jeopardy. Are hilarious.
Yeah, poor guy. Oh. All right, Jock, RFC1, whoever you are, we think you're funny a bit. All right, let's move on, because Daren has a time limit. He's got a time frame within which he can spend with us. So I'm going to move on to the next project.
I'm putting on my glasses now so that I can read the chat.
Oh, yeah,
better.
do that. The chat's often very funny. So the next item, I'll do a little spiel before. So last week we had a synthesist, Don Preston and Patrick Gleason, talk about being part of a team responsible for the electronic score of Apocalypse Now. TRON was released a few years after that movie, and whose soundtrack would also benefit from another master synthesist, Wendy Carlos, for those of you who know. I guess that was the era of electronic scores, wasn't it?
You know, it kind of was the end of the era of electronic scores, because that was 82, right, or 83. And, you know, to me, that the pinnacle of electronic scores happened in the 70s, you know, when Walter and Wendy, Walter/Wendy Carlos was doing this work, because remember, all of A Clockwork Orange was scored by Wendy Carlos.
True.
And that's an absolutely amazing feat there. You know, taking existing classical pieces and rendering them on the Moog is just absolutely amazing.
They were. That is true. Thanks for reminding us that, Daren. So, let me continue with the spiel. The backstory of TRON, for those of you who don't know, but I'm sure you all know, but I'll do the spiel anyway. In TRON, the movie tells of programmer Kevin Flynn, who runs an arcade after being fired from Software Corporation Encom. He believes its senior executive Dillinger stole 4 of his video game creations, and his attempts to find evidence on Dillinger's supercomputer known as the Master Control Program are foiled. And Flynn tries to shut it down using his friend Alan's security program called TRON. But MCP sends Flynn into the computer's data, which it rules. And where computer programs are alter egos of their creators competing in gladiatorial games, from what I remember. And in TRON Legacy, released about 3 decades later, Flynn's son Sam is drawn to the arcade and pulled into the same world that his father is trapped in. So I have a movie poster of TRON Legacy.
Yes.
Oops,
I seem to remember it.
1 second. There we go. So many buttons. So much media. So that's the poster of TRON Legacy. Daren, I understand that you worked on the exterior of Flynn's arcade. Tell us something about it.
I worked for about 3 or 4 weeks on the show because they were transitioning from working in Los Angeles to working up in Vancouver. And I got to work on the first part of it, and they needed someone to sort of give an idea of what the arcade would look like 30 years later, basically. And it was, run down and abandoned, basically. And, there were all sorts of bills posted up on it and run down and boarded up. And the famous, what should I call it? The billboard up on top of the building was all run down because in the original Tron, we start on that billboard, which is an ad for Space Paranoids, the game that Flynn had invented, but was taken away from him. And there's a billboard for it, and then we pan down and we see Flynn's arcade. And so that same sort of relationship had to be maintained for the sequel. The actual Flynn's arcade exists here in Los Angeles in Culver City. It's still there. It's not an arcade. It's a restaurant now. But it's a building in downtown Culver City. And I went with one of the art directors, and we measured it. We drew it up, and were able to get all of the important details about it set. And then I did a couple of paintings to represent what it would look like. And then they wound up shooting it up in Vancouver with a different site, and they built the lower portion of it in Vancouver, and I believe the top part of it was all CG. So they duplicated it in movie magic rather than shooting in Culver City.
Wow, well, by chance, I took a clip of Flynn's arcade from Tron movie, and cut Flynn's arcade from Tron Legacy, and did a little composite. So I'm gonna play that one. So hold on, let me just move this away, and here we go. Flynn's arcade. No audio. So this first bit is from Tron. And then Tron Legacy.
Yeah, there it is. That's across the street, and there's Culver City, and then we tilt up, and there's the Space Paranoids billboard. And I'm pretty sure that the interior wasn't shot inside the actual building, but there it is. It's all decrepit and run down. One of these next shots is exactly the illustration that I did of the interior, which is kind of neat.
Wow.
That looks almost exactly like my illustration. There we go.
You mean that you think they shot your illustration?
Yeah, well, because to be fair, the idea was the director's, and he wanted all these video games to be dead and shrouded with plastic.
Yeah.
And that at one point they turn on when he turns on the breaker.
Right.
And so it's sort of a little bit of Disney magic in there to bring this place back to life.
Yeah.
And I did a painting of that, and I was very proud of that. It's one of the two main paintings that I did on the show after 3 weeks, and then a bunch of us were laid off because they were all moving to Vancouver. But that's what goes.
Cool. Wow. Let's see if we got questions. No more Sean Connery jokes, please. Oh, Mike says I have Disney Plus. I must look for Tron.
I believe it's on there. I believe both of them are on there.
Well, wow. Yeah, I know what I'm doing tomorrow. Well, Mike says those old video game graphics. Awesome. Yeah, I know.
I think they were also easier to play than modern video games, and I think that made them a little more fun to play. At least for me, an old guy.
I tend to like simple as well. You know, you have a goal, you know what to do, and you just go for it.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to think too much when I'm playing a video game.
Yeah, exactly. It's just supposed to be fun. I don't want to rack my brain trying to think of a way to get out of the dungeon.
Exactly. When we had Leon 2 weeks ago, I happened to remember that many years ago when I was really into my 3D animation, I actually applied for a job with a gaming company. It was a video game company, not
Right.
not a gambling video gaming type.
Right.
Yeah. I didn't get the job. I got something else instead. But I was that keen. I thought that would be a fun job to have.
I would think it would be. It's it's a whole different mindset of how to get these games to do what you want them to do.
So Mike says, I'm still learning my PS3. Hardy.
Nice.
So I want to move on to storyboarding, because Daren Dochterman is a man of many talents, and I'm not trying to tease you. I'm not making fun of you either.
I know.
It's a compliment with
I appreciate it.
with an LOL at the end, just because. I appreciate that you have a lot of laughter in your speech as well, because I'm the laughing kind.
That's good. That's good.
So, sorry, Daren?
Yes?
Oh, I thought you were going to say something.
Nope. Not
Okay.
yet.
Okay, so let's look at, I found your pictures from the Addams Family Values movie, which was a 93 release, a sequel to Addams Family of 1991. So bear with me, let me just
Raul
find...
Julia and Angelica Houston and Christopher Lloyd, and it was a lot of fun to work on. That was all shot on the Paramount lot.
Wow.
And I got to work for the visual effects department. And I got to come up with a bunch of gags with Alan Monroe, the visual effects supervisor and second unit director. And it was a lot of fun. And I think there's still one sequence in there that I came up with the gag for at the beginning, where the Addams baby is being born. Thing, the disembodied hand, is running through the hospital all excited, and at one point he leaps up and grabs I think a forceps that a doctor is holding. The doctor shakes him off, and Thing is flung into the other room where a baby is being delivered, and Thing spanks him on the butt, just like doctors did, for hundreds of years. But that was my gag, and so the director liked it, and so he integrated it into the sequence, and I storyboarded. So, but that movie had so many fun things and activities for especially Thing and the little baby Hubert and the kids Wednesday and Pugsley to do that were not necessarily in the script. That the visual effects department was being asked to come up with some more interesting things that could happen that they could do that would be fun. And so we got to work on a bunch of those.
Well, that's a pity. I didn't know you worked on that because I saw the actual film clip. I thought of downloading it, but I couldn't find a corresponding storyboard copy. So I thought, well, I'll find something where I can associate,
right,
your work with.
I think the ones that are up on my site, on my what is it, Art
Nation?
What is it called? It's called ArtStation.
ArtStation. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know why I read it as Art Nation.
Because I can never remember the name of it.
Don't worry.
Funny. But yeah, I put up a whole sequence that I did from. There's a dinner party at this strange underground restaurant.
I did find some though.
Yes, and they're there, and that was a really fun sequence to work on because it was completely unscripted. In the script, it says basically,
do what you like.
Morticia and Gomez dance while Fester flirts with Debbie at the table, and that's it. So we basically had to come up with a whole sequence of stuff that happens during that.
Well, let me show everyone 3 scripts, or I should say 3 pages from your storyboard pics.
Sure.
And then I'll show the clip that I found associated with those storyboard pics.
Great.
So here we go. The first one is Morticia being twirled on the dance floor by Gomez.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have a real-world experience of that type of dancing to come up with the physics of it?
Very little, but I did look at some videos of people dancing tango and things like that. Yeah, finally the picture is coming up here. Gomez spins Morticia, and she spins all the way across the room, and then Gomez is on the other side of the room to catch her, which is fun. I noticed here, Mike Flavin asked the question, is storyboard work done with a lot of hand drawing, or is it computerized now? All the best storyboard artists are still doing it by hand. Some of it is computerized, but sometimes they're working on a tablet with Photoshop and painting in Photoshop. But all of the work is done by hand. If you see any computerized storyboards, those are done by people who don't know what they're doing usually. And I'm just throwing up my hands and saying that because the best storyboard artists still do the same thing by hand because it's much faster and they know how to get their ideas down on paper. The reason that I don't do it anymore is because it's really hard, and I was never really that good at it. Drawing figures is completely different from drawing, physical objects. Once you get in the hang of it, after a while, it becomes easier. But I was, I struggled at that. And so, thankfully, I got to move into areas where I didn't have to draw as many human figures, which is a killer.
They look great to me, though.
Well, that's the thing. The best kind of storyboards don't need to be perfect because it's just supposed to convey the idea clearly. But, the people out there doing storyboards these days are so good, and their storyboards are so beautiful and look, real that, I'm glad to have them do that job now because they're really good at it.
Cool. And I also found Uncle Fester, the one of Uncle Fester trying to impress Debbie with breadsticks.
With the breadsticks in his nose. That was one of my favorites because the drawing was pretty good, I have to say, and it looks like breadsticks, so that made me laugh.
And I have a third one of the champagne bottles all exploding.
Nice.
Which you'll see in a second, I'm sure.
Yeah, that was the exciting ending for this sequence, where everyone is so excited that even all the champagne bottles explode with delight, which is a lovely capper to that sequence.
Mm-hmm. Mike Flavin, of course, says, looking at the drawings, I see what you mean.
I'm glad.
Okay, let me show everyone the clip that I edited that is associated with these 3 pieces.
Great.
So 1 second, please. No audio here, just visuals.
While you're doing that, I'll tell you a little story of when I was on set, waiting to talk to the director or to Alan or somebody. But Raul Julia was there.
Oh.
And he saw me sitting there with my little sketches and storyboards. There's the sequence. and he said, what have you got there? You know, his big voice, and, you know, even out of character, he was a very large presence. And I told him what I was doing, and I was doing storyboards for visual effects and doing some sequences that hopefully he would be dealing with in the future. And he looked at the pictures and said, "Well, that's marvelous."
I love your impression. I can just imagine that coming out of his mouth.
It was a lot of fun, and, you know, may he rest in peace. He was a lovely man and a great actor, and he's a great Gomez, which is a lovely thing to remember.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on to the next project. And Daren, you and I spoke of, this was Master and Commander. When we talked about it previously, you mentioned the extensive research needed on the different stages of destruction and repairs of the ship.
Right.
So, of course, you know I'm going to bring up Poseidon, the movie, which is another movie about a ship.
Another movie about a ship, and interestingly enough, for the same production designer, and shot in the same studio down in Baja, Mexico.
Wow.
Which is funny. Oh, no, I take it back.
Oh, you
Poseidon wasn't down in Baja. I was thinking of Deep Blue Sea. No, Poseidon was done in Los Angeles on the Warner Brothers lot, everything.
That's no fun anymore.
No, it was great fun because it was I believe it was one of the last times that a movie that big was actually done in the studio. You know, usually they go off and build their own, containment vessels and buildings to shoot this stuff. But this was shot old-fashioned on the Warner Brothers lot in the existing Warner Brothers stages. And it was so great to see these amazing sets being built. Yeah. And one of the fun things about it, though, and I'm not a big fan of the movie. I think it's really clumsy. I love the original one in the early 70s.
Yeah.
But I'm very proud of the design of the ship.
Yeah.
It's just modern enough to to look like it's something that doesn't exist yet. But it still has the same sort of size and lines of the Queen Mary II, which it was roughly based on. But it was a lot of fun to design, and somewhere on YouTube I have a video of all of the design changes and all of the illustrations with all the changes. I wish I'd thought of this earlier.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Maybe on the third visit we can bring that out.
Okay.
But all the design changes from the beginning to the end, and seeing how it changed as we sent them to the director and the executives at Warner Brothers. And because everything has to go through them, and of course this was it was the title vehicle of the movie, so they wanted to make sure that it passed their approval. But the funny thing is, I built it all in 3D on my little laptop in the art department.
Which software program did you use?
It was, at that time, it was called Lightwave, the same one that Lee Stringer uses. And I built the whole thing, from tip to tail. Wow. And then handed that over to the visual effects department to give to ILM, because ILM was going to build the main CG model.
Yeah.
And it turns out that their model that they built, based on mine, made it into the Guinness Book of World Records for the most complex CG model ever made up to that time.
Whoa!
I think that was 2008.
Belated congratulations.
Sure. I'm sure
Where's your
there
jar
are more
of
complex
peanuts?
ones now, because certainly computers have gotten more powerful now.
Yeah.
But at that time, I found it hilarious that I could basically render out an image that looked almost identical to what they came out with,
Wow.
a year later. But that was fun, and I was happy to have been able to work on that.
Wow, that's incredible. Mike Flavin saw the 70s version of Poseidon, the movie. Gary saw Poseidon Adventure. I don't know which year that one was released.
Poseidon Adventure is the original one. That's, I believe that was 1974, maybe, or 73, maybe earlier.
70.
I'm not exactly sure.
I got 72 here.
Oh, then that's what it is. 72. I was only 5 at the time, so I didn't see it then. But it was sure fun to work on the remake, even though it wasn't as good.
Well, guess what? I got pictures.
Nice.
So let's see your concept art. Sorry, your produced illustrations.
No, it's concept art. A production illustrator makes concept art.
I'm just messing with you.
I know.
It's all live, so I can do stupid things, see? And the viewers will forgive me.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah. All right, here we go. So I have a picture of the ship's hull. It's beautiful, Daren.
I'll have to. I don't see it yet. I'm sure I remember what it looks like, but I don't see
have to model the sea water as well, the ocean?
Oh yeah.
You had to do the sky.
Yep. Everything is CG. The sky is an image of clouds.
Got it.
And basically the sea is basically a flat plane that we add a displacement on to break it up and let it reflect like real seawater does.
Got it.
But yeah, that's basically the first shot in the movie. We go all around the new ship, and they fly around and they catch someone running across the deck, and the guy is real, but the whole ship is CG.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Here's another picture from above. Oh, I like that swimming pool.
Yeah, there was.
I'll have that one.
We had like 3 swimming pools on the ship.
3 swimming pools.
Sure, because you can't go swimming in the ocean.
Oh, true.
Because the boat will leave you. Yeah, there we are. This is a nice view. I like this.
Me too.
Yeah, this is the mid-deck pool with all those deck chairs set up around there, and portable heaters, and all sorts of areas for people to congregate around.
Wow.
And of course, each of the cabins there on the side have a deck that they can sit on and enjoy.
Were you given features of the ship that they had to have this and that, 3 pools and blah blah blah?
Nope.
Oh, you decided to look up the properties.
I looked at some reference of existing ships.
Yeah.
And just sort of updated it as much as I could.
Yeah.
And it's all made up, and then you change it when they don't like what they see, and sometimes that happens. And sometimes you get to a point where you don't like it anymore and you change it. And that's sort of the process. You just sort of move back and forth until it works the way you want it to.
Wow. That sounds too much like fun.
It is. It's a lot of fun. I'm so lucky to be able to basically goof around playing with toys on the computer and have make a living at it.
Well, there you go. So here's a third picture. It's the other end of the ship.
The stern, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
The stern, good. That's the one that says Poseidon,
Southampton, yeah.
Yes. And that has the Yeah, right above that deck is another pool with a waterfall in it.
Whoa!
Which is fun. Yeah, it's got a big butt.
Mm-hmm. I do enjoy boats in a way. Many years ago, I took a course in sailing a one-man boat, sailboat.
Neat.
So you had to, do your own sails. You had to learn how to capsize the boat and right it again just in case of situations where you're on your own and, you were to capsize.
Yeah, you got to be ready for anything that
happens.
happens.
That kind of stuff, yeah. That was fun.
I'll bet.
I got another picture.
I just work on movies about dangerous things. I don't do dangerous things.
To tell you the truth, and everyone out there, I think of myself as a fairly timid person, but somehow I always end up being on adventures that I would never dream of. Such as sailing a boat by myself, scuba diving, and things like that. Like, did I really do it? I guess
that sounds
did.
Awesome.
So, okay, I have another picture. This is now the interior of the ship. It's I don't know what you call it.
Maybe a ballroom or a
dining hall? I labeled it as ballroom, but it has a grand piano in it and stairs leading down to it.
I know what that is. That's the central sort of what is it? The courtyard.
Okay.
There's a grand piano there, and there's all sorts of people standing in there, and this was the setting for one of the main scenes inside. Of course, when we're in it in the movie, it's all upside down.
Oh, yes.
Because the boat is capsized, and so they have to make it up through the lower decks to survive. This was to set up how it looks in regular time, and I think we took a cue from one of the downtown LA hotels by putting one of those glass elevators on the side there, so that you could travel up and see all the interior of the ship. And it's lots of stairways that are useless when the boat is upside down.
That's true. Speaking of being crazy, Mike Flavin, he, after you mentioned that the stern is the backside, he says, I like big stern and I cannot lie, LOL. And Eric goes, hey, I haven't seen you in a while, and I forgot the name of the person behind Ericles, but Ericles says, I used to work with cruise ships, by the way, multimedia installations.
Nice.
Oh, you guys are funny. I have a last picture, and this is, I believe, looking up.
Mm-hmm.
Looking
up.
Looking up. And it looks like we have capsized because there's a lady hanging on to the banister of sorts.
Now, I believe that was my ex-girlfriend at the time. I painted her. Yep, it is.
Oh, poor thing.
My girlfriend Heather, who was hanging on for dear life. But yeah, this was the boat capsized. Excuse me.
Are you okay?
Not COVID. Yes, I'm fine. But yeah, this was another look. This is basically exactly the opposite view that we just saw. We're almost underneath the piano, I think.
Oh, okay. And we find out the name of Ericles, the person who used to do multimedia installations on cruise ships. His name is Eric Alsted.
Cool.
Hi, Eric. And all right, so that's our last picture from Poseidon, and I'm looking at the time and I want to move on quickly because I don't want to keep Daren too long. he has to go to bed, you know. He needs his beauty sleep. So I have
I
a few.
do, but that's not the reason.
I do. I need my beauty sleep. So I got a few questions because I'm going to leave some of the other projects for the third time you come around for a visit. You guys and the viewers, if you have any questions, please drop them in the live chat immediately because I'm not going to keep Daren for much longer. But I'll end his visit today with a few questions, and they are, what would you say is the most important part of your job as production illustrator and a storyboard artist? They could be different, of course.
They are different. The most important thing, I think, for a production illustrator, at least the kind of work that I did, is to have a familiarity with a lot of different things, and to have a sort of a shallow knowledge of a lot of things, because you're required to do the work, relatively fast. There's not a lot of time to get up to speed on things. So you need to be able to learn new facts and integrate them into your mind fairly quickly, and learn how things work, and learn how what you're designing will interact with other things. And so, and it helps to have an idea of how things get built, how things are manufactured, so that you can avoid any problems when what you're designing needs to be fabricated. So the better you can design it to be able to be built, then the better it will be for those people who are building it. And for storyboards, I think, as I said before, a good facility with drawing figures, drawing people, is essential, and the ability to be able to stage scenes, to know where to place the characters in the frame, and to have a sort of a three-dimensional view in your mind of what's going on, so that you can place your vantage point correctly. And in addition to that, a sense of storytelling, because these pictures are the first visual representation of the story. So it needs to convey clearly and quickly what is necessitated by the script. And so those are the most important things that a storyboard artist should have.
I see some questions. I'll start with Peter Scheffler's first. Hi, Peter. If I didn't say hello previously, I'm saying hello now. He says, about how long would you have to do one of those storyboard 3-picture sets?
Usually, I would do them in a swath of like 15 or 20, a whole sequence, and that could take. If they were really rough, you do those in a day. If they were a little more refined, like those Addams Family ones were, those were, rendered and shaded, and I tried to add as much detail as I could. Those took a little longer, so that was about 4 days maybe for that entire sequence. But usually it's pretty fast, and if I was doing thumbnails, then they have to be very fast, like in an afternoon.
Yeah. Mike Flavin says, Daren, have you thought of using your talents on graphic novels or something like that?
To be honest, there's the problem with figure drawing again. I'm completely out of practice with figure drawing, and I'm not good at it even when I'm in practice. So I'm not the kind of artist that is facile with that technique. And even if doing graphic novels were financially a good choice, they just aren't anymore, honestly. And I can't afford to do graphic novels, basically. There are many great artists out there who love doing that kind of thing, and they are better suited to do it. So I just say, go forth and let me enjoy them rather than having to meet the deadlines on them.
Gary says, I'm wondering if it occurred to publish the storyboards maybe as a limited edition. Think there might be a market for something like that?
Sometimes I would not have the rights to do that.
Yeah.
That would have to come from the studio.
Yeah.
And usually the movie would have to be absolutely huge for them to do that.
Yeah.
A 30-year-old film is not going to engender that much interest.
Yeah.
Very rarely. I do know that some huge films like Jurassic Park had storyboards published in a sort of an art of book that they put out, but almost never on their own.
Yeah.
It's just that there's just not that much. There's just not that much call for them in the marketplace, unfortunately.
Yeah. I'm going to throw at you another question, and then, I forgot to play the clip from Poseidon. So after this question,
okay.
I'll play the clip, and then kind of complete our chat for today. You guys, you need to persuade Daren to come back for a third visit, okay? Because we love him. He's a swell guy. So here's the question, Eric Alstead. Actually, if another job, what would you want? Oh, wow.
Boy, you know what? That's a good question. If I hadn't done this, I probably would have been a musician.
There you go.
Because, I trained in music. I played clarinet and saxophone and a little bit of piano. And I actually did a little bit of composing in my, 20s.
Ooh.
And I found it a lot of fun. And if I couldn't do this, I probably would have gone that route. But as you very well know, that route is cutthroat as well, and it's not for the faint-hearted. So it would be just as probably more so difficult to pursue that with my more limited capability of music than with my slightly more advanced capability of artwork. So I think I made the correct decision, and I'm lucky to still have opportunities to do that.
Yeah, I think you made the right choice too, but it's good to be multi-talented such as you are.
Well, the great thing is I can still keep music as a hobby that I enjoy, whereas drawing is not a hobby that I enjoy anymore.
Oh, yeah, I hear you. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, because it's been completely usurped by having to do artwork for other people.
Yeah, which we kind of touched on in our previous visit with you. Yeah. So let's look at that clip from Poseidon then. And you guys remember the pictures, the concept art that Daren created that I showed you just now? So here is the actual clip. Not this one, sorry, this one. This one has a little sound. So that's a ballroom. That's the hull of the ship. Woohoo! That was a short clip because I'm not sure how much I can show. So I'll let Daren finish watching. Yeah.
There it is.
I did show the backside as well.
Yeah. the amazing ILM CG model.
Yeah. So, oh.
Sorry about that.
We thought you had to leave us immediately. Oh.
No, I'm here. It just got screwed up because someone was trying to call me.
Oh, all right. In which case, we should let you go. But before we do, we know you have a podcast as well. Tell us about your podcast.
I have two, actually.
Two?
The first one is called The Inglorious Treksperts, which is Star Trek based, and it's myself and my partner on the show, Mark Altman, and we talk about all things Star Trek.
Okay.
And it can be found on Apple Podcasts. And anywhere you listen to podcasts, look for Inglorious Trexperts, and you can find it. And the second, I also do with Mark Altman and two other guys, Ashley Miller and Steve Melching, and we do the 4:30 movie, which is it's sort of based on an old show in the 70s where they would run movies every weekday at 4:30, and they were all scheduled in sort of a theme. So one week was Monster Week, one week was Planet of the Apes Week, one week was Westerns, one week was thrillers, that kind of thing. And so we come up with a theme for the week, and then we each pick a movie that we think would fit in that. And it's a lot of fun because we don't know what each other will pick. So it's educational sometimes, and it's fun for us, and I hope it is for the listeners too.
Yeah.
But that also is available on Apple Podcasts and anywhere that you get podcasts.
All righty, everyone. Did you hear that? I'm going to check them out now. Sounds fun.
And also, I should mention, because the company that is our benefactor that helps us produce these is called Electric Entertainment, which is owned by Dean Devlin, who is producer of Independence Day and Stargate. And the app that you can watch these podcasts on is called the Electric Now app, and you can get that on all the app stores for your various devices. And Electric Now, and on there is both Inglorious Trexperts and the 4:30 movie and other podcasts, but they're all video, so you can watch us.
Sounds good, Daren. Everyone, if you heard that, go check them out. Thanks, Daren. We have truly enjoyed having you on the live stream a second time.
Thanks so much.
Can't wait for the third visit, maybe in a few months, and we can talk about something different.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to wish you fun adventures and exciting projects ahead so that you can talk to us about them.
Thank you so much.
And of course, stay safe, please.
You too. Everybody
and stay in touch.
All righty. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Daren. You take care now. Have a great rest of the evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So that was Daren Dochterman. I'm going to take away the hello sign and say, you guys, I don't know about you and the snow situation. We're back to the snow again because we had sunny skies today. Yay. And now that the snow's gone away, never coming back for a while, I'm planning another trip. So season 2 will ultimately come to an end before season 3 begins. How fun. So I'm going to make my first of 2 final visits to the post office next week to post out any CDs that have been bought. But if you haven't bought or owned my CDs and would like to, most of you know that I have the Stella set, which I made a bundle of for Chinese New Year, Lunar New Year last week. And it consists of my 4 CDs. So it's a physical set, the poster, and along with that is a digital track of The Universe, which is one of 3 EDM pieces that I put together. So what happens is, once you've done your purchase via PayPal, I will receive an email saying, so-and-so has bought your set. Congratulations. And I will respond to that email with the digital track. How's that? So if you don't, so you can scan the QR code. I forgot to mention. Or you can message me and say, I would like to buy the Stella set, please. And I'll arrange for the purchase and all of that jazz. And if you have done so already while I've been yapping on, thank you very much. For our next episode, we have Rory Kaplan, who toured with Chick Corea, who passed away recently, sadly. Rory Kaplan was Chick Corea's synth programmer and keyboard technician on his Return to Forever tour. before he started working with Fairlight CMI in Australia, and then taking on the role of executive producer with Dolby DTS. If you're curious about Rory, who incidentally was also one of the synth players on Michael Jackson's Bat Tour. And if you recall, my good friend Chris Curel did the synclavier guitar parts on the Bat Tour and the Bat album as well. That's how I got to know Rory. So please join us for Rory's episode. You guys have been wonderful viewers. I'm sorry, I was reading your live chat. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And if you have, thank you. And come back with your friends next time, please. When we have a huge bunch of you, it is so much fun for me, for you guys, and for our guest. And let me know when Daren Dochterman comes back for a third visit, what you might like him to talk about. So help me do some research. I usually spend a couple of weeks researching as to our guest's backstory and get all the video clips and pictures and whatever assets that I need to display during the live stream. So if you guys have some ideas to what you might like to read about or hear about or discuss of Daren's work, please send me a message on Facebook, or you can comment below this live stream on YouTube. Okay, all right then. You guys have been truly awesome, and you all deserve an applause. So, all right, stay safe now. Take care of yourselves, and I shall see you back again at the next episode with your friends. And this will be Rory Kaplan. Alrighty, I'll see you then. Bye, guys.